Hi, everybody. I am Trey, one of your average film enjoyers, and I am here to tell you that you can win over $500 worth of movie stuff. So, if you're listening to this podcast, you're a huge movie fan. Obviously, you wouldn't be listening if you didn't love film like me and Jagger. And so me and Jagger, along with three other content creators on TikTok, Film Gunch, who we've had on here, Wes, who we've had on here a couple times, and then one of our good friends, Real Takes, we are all joined together doing a giveaway currently. And how you join this giveaway is you go to each of our pages. We all have the giveaway video pinned, and you'll go on to that video. You'll give us all a follow. We each account is tagged in every video, and then comment down below. Tag five of your friends, and if you tag 5 different friends in all 5 different videos, then you can get up to 30 entries. 30 entries. You can get up to 30 entries. So, but you're like, Trey, well, you're telling me about this, but I don't even know what I can win. Well, I'll tell you what you can win. Real Takes is donating a 4K Harry Potter collection, Blu-ray James Bond collection, I believe a 4K collection of the Planet of the Apes films, and the first 3 John Wick movies in 4K. I'm donating 3 criterions of your choice, so whoever wins get to choose 3 criterions, and we'll mail those to you. Jagger, my co-host, is donating a bunch of international DVDs. Gunch is donating Don Hertzfeld and I can't remember the other guy's name. Well, the animated show. It's a very limited edition animated sketch comedy show. He has a bunch of steelbooks of all 3 seasons, so he's donating those. And then the biggest one, Wes, is donating a region-free Blu-ray player. So, if any of those items interest you, again, go to any of our TikTok pages. Go to me and Jagger's TikTok page, Trey the Film Noob, Jagger Film Reviews. We have the videos pinned on top of our pages, so go check them out. Follow the instructions. The giveaway ends when we are all 5 of us at 1,000 followers, and me and Jagger are the only ones that haven't hit 1,000 followers yet. So please help us get us there so we can give away all this movie merchandise. Now, let's get to the podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Average Film Enjoyer podcast. I am one of your hosts, Trey, and I am joined today by one of my co-hosts, or not one, it's not like there's multiple of us. I'm joined today by my co-host, Jagger. Jagger, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm great. We're both tired.
We are both very tired. This is like our 4th episode we've recorded in a row. Today, we have another edition of Hooptober for you. Today, we are discussing the Darren Aronofsky, very uncomfortable, horrifying film, Requiem for a Dream.
Would you like to do the explanation for why this is even on the list? Because we talked about this yesterday.
I think you find it a lot more horrifying than I do. And we'll get into why. So why don't you go ahead on the explanation of why this is on our list, and then like your thoughts about this film, and then I'll rant for a couple minutes and we'll call it good.
All right. So the reason this is on the list is because if I say horror movie, what comes to mind? Insidious, The Conjuring, Sinister. Maybe you'll think Dawn of the Dead.
Can I just
the Living Dead.
Can I just say one thing real quick? I want to say you're always hating on James Wan, but the first 2 horror movies you said were both James Wan movies. I just want to point that out.
Because I'm trying to think like Gen Z, modern horror. That's what people think, and that's why I said maybe you'll think when then I started to go into real horror.
He is real
But
horror. James Wan is a
no, he's
master of
not.
horror.
There's no way, and I don't understand why people say that jump scare where it's just like as he's like behind him and like Darth Maul does like a face.
That's
It's
not
not
that. It's not that
scary.
scary, but his other films are.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Let's move on.
Whatever.
Let's move. We can have our
Let's
James
move on.
Wan argument another day.
I digress. And
Yeah.
there's a bunch of different horror movies that might come to mind. Maybe you think Cronenberg, but all of those are qualified as horror movies. That has a monster, like Videodrome is an unnatural being. The Fly isn't a horror movie. What am I saying? Insidious is possession. The Conjuring is like possession because James Wan doesn't know how to do anything besides possession. But like I said, you'll often think of a movie that has some kind of monster, right? Friday the 13th, it's Jason Voorhees. What is the monster in Requiem for a Dream? The monster in Requiem for a Dream is reality. Something that happens every single day. And people will say, this is the most disturbing movie I've ever seen. And I understand where you're coming from. But this is not necessarily a movie. This is a tale of unfortunate situations that all could technically happen. And you skip over that when you talk about this like it's a normal movie. So that's why we have it on here. Because this is true horror. This is not some monster. This is the horror of life. Now, Trey, I'm going to pass this over to you and let you talk. So
Thank you. That was very well worded, my friend. So, basically, this film takes place. You're following these 4 different storylines of these people who are addicted, or they're struggling with addiction in some kind of way. Ellen Bernstein's character, she's struggling with addiction to diet pills, which in a sense are basically speed or crack, which is more commonly known. Jared Leto and Jennifer Connelly's characters are both struggling with cocaine and heroin addiction. And Marlon Wayans is struggling also with heroin, cocaine, really anything they can get their hands on. And this, before I get into why I think this film is great and why I think this is a technical achievement, I just want to talk a little bit about what this film and this subject matter means to me personally. I think I talked about this pretty in depth on an episode we recorded. We were just talking about it. We recorded this back in July, but we never released that episode. We were like, okay, we can just. It was before we even started our IMDb series, but we were like, we can just keep this one for a rainy day, and it's like we've never released it. Maybe we will soon. We'll see.
let's see if we can find.
It was
Maybe it's lost media.
It's before we even did video. But earlier this year, and this is the reason I got into cinema, just to get serious real quick, I ended up in a rehabilitation center because I had become a heavy drug user and a heavy drinker, like a violent alcoholic. I've been sober almost 10 months, so don't really do any of that. Oh, thank you. Thank you, buddy. So what... It's not in a sense that I have experienced these situations that... And I think I talk about this in a review I wrote of another film a couple weeks ago. I've not experienced these situations that these people go through in this film, right? I mean, I've experienced some of these situations. The whole scene where Ellen Bernstein is like tripping balls in her apartment and like seeing stuff. I've been there, you know? And like where you see Marlon Wayans having these like crazy nightmares while he's in prison at the end, like sweating. I've been there, you know? But a lot of these situations I have not personally experienced because my stuff wasn't crack. It wasn't coke, wasn't pills or anything like that. But the feelings that are expressed here, and the desperation, and how Darren Aronofsky expresses the struggle and the disease of addiction here, I have personal experience with, and it is very hard to find films that do that well, that portray, because at the end of the day, if you haven't been an addict or an alcoholic, and no offense to those people, I'm glad that I know people that haven't experienced that, but you will never be able to understand what it's like, and it's like when people say they have cravings, it's not like, oh, I have some cravings for some cake right now, I could really go for some cake. It's like waking up in the middle of the night, your heart going 180 beats per minute, and all you can think about is I just want it one more time. So, and I think Requiem does, Darren Aronofsky does an outstanding job of showing that desperation, showing the extent that people will go to. None of the stuff in this movie, the extent that Jennifer Connelly goes to, the extent that Jared Leto, him injecting heroin into his already infected arm, none of that is unrealistic. That is all realistic. That is all stuff that happens. Jennifer Connelly, basically prostituting herself for more drugs. That is stuff that happens every day. And that is why this film is so horrifying, because none of this is unrealistic. None of this is exaggerated. None of this is over dramatized. It is all real stuff that happens to people every day, because addiction is a disease, and it's a really terrible one that people every day struggle with, and people will end up like Ellen Bernstein, where for the rest of their lives there's nothing going on up here at all. You'll end up like Jared Leto. You'll all these, but more often than not, you'll die. So I think this is Tyler Whitmore, who is a huge content creator. He talks about how Dare could have saved millions of dollars by just showing this movie to all the middle schools, to a bunch of 14-year-old kids, because this movie really is if you are oh, maybe I want to try I'm not going to give my position on drugs at all, because I don't believe in I don't want to get into that on this podcast. We try to stay not political, but if you're I want to think about doing cocaine or anything like that, go watch this movie first, because this is all real. This is all stuff that actually happens. And it's really sad. I've seen people in these states, and it's really sad, and it's something that's realistic. And I think that's why we wanted to include this on our Hooptober series, because it's less that it's this scary monster in your closet, ghost. I think ghosts are real. I think ghosts are 100% real. But that's for a whole nother time. But this is stuff that we know for a fact affects millions of people every single day. And I think that's why this is so horrifying, and it's an important film for everybody to watch. But technically, as a film, it's outstanding. We finally get proof that Jared Leto is an actual good actor when he is given a good script. Jared Leto gives...
Thank God. Because he deserves a little bit of respect, and Morbius did not help his case.
Yeah, no, Jared Leto is amazing in this film. The score goes hard. The score is so good in this movie. The cinematography, Darren Aronofsky is just a master behind the camera. There's very few that do it better at making you as uncomfortable as possible, and this very realistic horror he does. There's very few people who do it better. And I have this at 5 stars. I know you have this at 4.5. I think this is one, it will be a long time before I revisit. I think I probably will revisit it because of how much I enjoyed the filmmaking. But it will be
twice, and I don't ever want to watch it again. I
Yeah.
don't.
It'll
Yeah.
be a long time before I revisit it. But I think it's one that here's the advice I'll give. That I was hanging out when I was into like doing stuff. I was hanging out with this guy who I used to buy shrooms from, and he was talking about here's how I say you should watch Requiem for a Dream, because he was telling me about doing 20 grams of shrooms, which is way too many shrooms to do for anybody. He says I would recommend it to nobody, and I would recommend it to everybody. I think this is a very important film in film history. Obviously, we'll go in deeper on this because this is coming up much later in our IMDb Top 250 series. This will probably be in over a year. We'll do this film because it's much higher up. But I think this is an important one that everyone should definitely check out and give it a look. You know, it's really well done, and it's a really important message that everybody needs to know is like addiction is a real thing. And even if you don't think it'll affect you, it'll just rear its head and affect you. You know, I didn't think I was going to be an addict or an alcoholic, but here we are now, you know. So, that's my thoughts. I think this is an outstanding film. I give my stamp of approval on the realistic part of like being an addict and then alcoholic. Like, it does it very well. There's not a lot of movies that do it well, but this one does it very well. And I don't give that stamp of approval to a lot of movies because a lot of movies do it wrong. Like there's not a lot of great recognition for addicts and alcoholics in film, but this movie does it very well. And that's I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I can't add anything because I couldn't have worded it better than you. So
yeah, that's our review of Requiem for a Dream. It's streaming on. I watched it on Plex. Jagger, I don't know where you watched it.
I've got the DVD of it back
there.
there.
Okay, yeah. Go check out Plex, free streaming service. It's on there if you want to watch it. But make sure you like if this movie will affect you, and it might be in a negative way. So go in.
Warning.
Yeah, go in with a word of warning. Make sure, like, if you feel like you need someone to talk to, go talk to someone. And if you're listening to this right now and you feel like I may be an addict, I may be an alcoholic, I have these things, like, to anything. If your life just feels out of control, get help. It is okay to ask for help. So please, that's our review for today. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we hope everybody stays safe.